Not all imitation is created equal. Let's talk about the differences. Hi, I'm Dr. Megan, and I guide people in growing, learning, and cultivating connection and curiosity. In our Imitation Part 1 video, we talked about how imitation is more than just copying. It's a vital learning tool. But did you know that the strategies that we're typically trained to use, especially in behavior analysis, aren't necessarily the most effective or research-based? The typical do this method, where we say do this, model a skill, and then prompt the child to respond, is backed by very old research from the 60s and 70s on operant conditioning. However, have you thought or taken a second to be a critical behavior analyst and looking at, is this truly teaching imitation in the way we understand imitation now in 2024, or is it teaching maybe a level of mechanical responding that's more topography focused than function based? So early research by folks like Baer and Sherman and others that you can find referenced if you search Google Scholar search imitation and operant conditioning did demonstrate that a do this type procedure is effective, but they were working with very specific populations under very specific conditions. And that research doesn't align with what we know about imitation now, that there is a social communicative function to imitation. If we're teaching imitation from a stance of operant conditioning focused on observational learning, we're completely missing that social communication function. When we focus on teaching imitation by teaching isolated actions and we don't address that social communicative function, we run the risk of not ever building that skill set repertoire for our clients, where they're learning those foundational social communication skills, and they might miss out on a lot of pre-communicative responding as well. So what's the alternative? Research on reciprocal imitation training approaches teaching imitation based on that social communicative function first, where there's more of a back and forth exchange and it follows more closely the preferences and motivation of the child who's learning how to imitate. So if you're still using traditional do this imitation training that is so prevalent in the field of behavior analysis, it's time to start asking yourself, are you teaching imitation from a social communicative function that really gets at that back and forth early stages of communication, or are you teaching isolated responses that may or may not contribute to further development of communication? The research supports looking at teaching communication from that communicative function, and it's time we start making that shift. If this is information that is new for you and or resonates with you in terms of thinking about your clients and making sure that you're promoting meaningful skills, make sure to give me a follow as we dive in deeper on this topic.